stripes and circles painted on it for the games that were formerly played there. The hoops for the basketball nets were still in place, though the nets were gone. A balcony ran around the room for the spectators, and I thought I could smell faintly, like an after-image, the pungent scent of sweat shot through with the sweet taint of chewing gum and perfume from the watching girls. Felt skirts as I knew from pictures later, in mini skirts, then pants, then one earring, spiky green streaked hair. Dances would have been held there. The music lingered, a palimpsest of unheard sound, style upon style, an undercurrent of drums, a full-loin wail, garlands made of tissue paper, flowers, cardboard devils, a revolving ball of mirrors, powdering the dancers with a snow of light. There was old sex in the room, and loneliness, and expectation of something without a shape or name. I remember that yearning for something that was always about to happen, and was never the same as the hands that were on us there and then, in the small of the back or out back, in the parking lot or in the television room, with the sound turned down and only the pictures flickering over, lifting flesh. We yearned for the future. How did we learn it? That talent. For insatiability. It was in the air, and it was still in the air. An afterthought, as we tried to sleep. In the army cots that had been set up in a row, with spaces between so that we could not talk. We had flannel sheets like children's, and army-issue blankets, old ones that still said U.S. We folded our clothes neatly and laid them on the stools at the ends of our beds. The lights were turned down, but not out. Aunt Sarah and Aunt Elizabeth patrolled. They had electric cattle prods slung on thongs from their leather belts. No guns, though. Even they could not be trusted with guns. Guns were for the guards, specially picked from the angels. The guards weren't allowed inside the building except when called, and we weren't allowed out except for our walks, twice daily, 2 by 2, around the football field, which was enclosed now by a chain-link fence topped with barbed wire. The angels stood outside it with their backs to us. They were objects of fear to us, but of something else as well. If only they would look. If only we could talk to them. Something could be exchanged, we thought. Some deal made, some trade-off. We still had our bodies. That was our fantasy. We learned to whisper almost without sound. In the semi-darkness, we could stretch out our arms when the aunts weren't looking and touch each other's hands across space. We learned to lip read, our heads flat on the beds, turned sideways, watching each other's mouths. In this way, we exchanged names from bed to bed. Alma, Janine, Dolores, Moira, June. Chapter 2. Shopping. A chair, a table, a lamp. Above, on the white ceiling, a relief ornament in the shape of a wreath, and in the center of it, a blank space, plastered over like the place in a face where the eyes have been taken out. There must have been a chandelier once. They've removed anything that you could try to rope to. A window, 2 white curtains. Under the window, a window seat with a little cushion. When the window is partly open, it only opens partly. The air can come in and make the curtains move. I can sit in the chair or on the window seat, hands folded, watch this. Sunlight comes in through the window too, and falls on the floor, which is made of wood in narrow strips. Highly polished. I can smell the polish. There's a rug on the floor. Oval of braided rags. This is the kind of touch they like. Folk art or cake made by women in their spare time from things that have no further use. A return to traditional values. Waste not, want not. Am I not being wasted? Why do I want it? On the wall above the chair, a picture, framed but with no glass. A print of flowers, blue irises, watercolor. Flowers are still allowed. Does each of us have the same print, the same chair, the same white curtains? I wonder. Government issue. Think of it as being in the army, said Aunt Lydia. A bed, single mattress, medium hard, covered with a flock widespread. Nothing takes place in the bed but sleep. Or no sleep. I try not to think too much. Like other things now, thought must be rational. There's a lot that doesn't bear thinking about. Thinking can hurt your chances, and I intend to last. I know why there is no glass in front of the watercolor picture of blue irises, and why the window only opens partly, and why the glass in it is shatterproof. It isn't running away they're afraid of. We wouldn't get far. It's those other escapes. The ones that you can open in yourself, given a cutting edge. So, apart from these details, this could be a college guest room for the less distinguished visitors, or a room in a rooming house of former times for ladies in reduced circumstances. This is what we are now. The circumstances have been reduced for those of us who still have circumstances. But a chair, sunlight, flowers, these are not to be dismissed. I am alive. I live. I breathe. I put my hand out, unfolded into the sunlight. Where I am is not a prison, but a privilege, as Aunt Lydia said, who was in love with either or. The bell that measures time is ringing. Time here is measured by bells, as once in nunneries. As in a nunnery too, there are a few mirrors. I got up out of the chair, advanced my feet into the sunlight in their red shoes, flat-heeled to save the spine, and not for dancing. The red gloves are lying on the bed. I picked them up, pulled them onto my hands, finger by finger. Everything except the wings around my face is red, the color of blood, which defines us. The skirt is ankle length, full, gathered to a flat yoke that extends over the breast. The sleeves are full. The white wings are to the scribed issue. They are to keep us from seeing, but also from being seen. I never looked good in red. It's not my color. I pick up the shopping basket, put it over my arm. The door of the room, not my room. I refuse to say my. It's not locked. In fact, it doesn't shut properly. I go out into the polished hallway, which has a runner down the center dusty pink. Like a path through the forest, like a carpet for royalty, it shows me the way. The carpet bends and goes down the front staircase, and I go with it. One hand on the banister. Once a tree turned into another century, rubbed to a warm gloss. Latte Victorian, the house is. A family house built for a large, rich family. There's a grandfather clock in the hallway, which tells out time, and then a door to the piece of mirror on the hall wall. If I turn my head so that the white wings framing my face direct my vision towards it, I can see it as I go down the stairs, round, convex, a beer glass, like the eye of a fish, and myself in it like a distorted shadow, a parody of something, some fairy tale figure in a red cloak, descending towards a moment of carelessness that is the same as danger, a sister dipped in blood. At the bottom of the stairs, there's a hat and umbrella stand, the bentwood kind, long rounded rungs of wood, curving gently up into the hooks shaped like the opening fronds of a fern. There are several umbrellas in it, black for the commander, blue for the commander's wife, and the one assigned to me, which is red. I leave the red umbrella where it is because I know from the window that the day is sunny. I wonder where or whether or not the commander's wife is in the sitting room. She doesn't always sit. Sometimes I can hear her pacing back and forth. A heavy step and then a light one, and then a soft tap of her cane on the dusty rose carpet. I walk along the hallway, past the sitting room door, and the door that leads into the dining room, and open the door at the end of the hall, and go through into the kitchen. Here the smell is no longer of furniture polish. Rita is in here, standing at the kitchen table, which has a top of chipped white enamel. She's in her usual Martha's dress, which is a dull green, like a surgeon's gown of the time before. The dress is most like mine in shape, long and concealing, but with a pip apron over it and without the white wings and the veil. She puts on the veil to go outside, but nobody much cares who sees the face of a Martha. Her sleeves are rolled to the elbow, showing her brown arms. She's making bread, throwing the loaves for the final breath kneading, and then the shaping. Rita sees me and nods, whether in greeting or in simple acknowledgement. Of my presence, it's hard to say. Wipes her floury hands on her apron and rummages in the kitchen drawer for the token book. Frowning, she tears out 3 tokens and hands them to me. Her face might be kindly if she would smile, but the frown isn't personal. It's the red dress she disapproves of, and what it stands for. She thinks I may be catching, like a disease or any form of bad luck. Sometimes I listen outside. Closed doors, a thing I never would have done in the time before. I don't listen long because I don't want to be caught doing it. Once, though, I heard Rita say to Cora that she wouldn't debase herself like that. Nobody asking you, Cora said. Anyways, what could you do, supposing? Go to the colonies, Rita said. They have the choice. With the unwomen, and starve to death, and Lord knows what all, said Cora. Catch you. They were shelling peas. Even through the almost closed door, I could hear the light clink of the hard piece falling into the metal bowl. I heard Rita, a grunt or a sigh of protest or agreement. Anyways, they're doing it for us all, said Cora, or so they say. If I hadn't have got my tubes tied, it could have been me. Say I went 10 years younger. It's not that bad. It's not what you call hard work. Better her than me, Rita said, and I opened the door. Their faces were the way women's faces are when they've been talking about you behind your back and they think that you've heard. Embarrassed but a little defiant, as if it were their right. That way, Coral was more pleasant to me than usual, Rita more surely. Today, despite Rita's closed face and pressed lips, I would like to stay here in the kitchen. Cora might come in from somewhere else in the house carrying her bottle of lemon oil and her duster, and Rita would make coffee in the houses of the commanders. There is still real coffee, and we would sit at Rita's kitchen table, which is not Rita's any more than my table is mine, and we would talk about aches and pains, illnesses, our feet, our backs, all the different kinds of mischief that our bodies, like unruly children, can get into. always averted. I've heard them at it at times. Caught whiffs of their private conversations. Stillborn it was, or stabbed her with a knitting needle right in the belly. Jealousy, it must have been eating her up. Or tantalizingly, it was toilet cleaner she used. Worked like a charm. Though you'd think that he'd have tasted it. Must have been that drunk. But they found her out alright. Or I would help Rita make the bread, sinking my hands into that soft, resistant warmth, which is so much like flesh. I hungered to touch something other than cloth or wood. I hungered to commit the act of touch. But even if I were to ask, even if I were to violate decorum to that extent, Rita would not allow it. She would be too afraid. The Matas are not supposed to fraternize with us. Fraternize means to behave like a brother. Luke told me that. He said there was no corresponding word that means to behave like a sister. Sororize, it would have to be, he said, from the Latin. He liked knowing about such details, the derivations of words, curious usages. I used to tease him about being pedantic. I take the tokens from Rita's outstretched hand. They have pictures on them of the things that they can be exchanged for: 12 eggs, a piece of cheese, a brown thing that's supposed to be a steak. I placed them in the zippered pocket in my sleeve where I keep my pass. Tell them fresh for the eggs, she says. Not like last time. And a chicken, tell them, not a hen. Tell them who it's for, and then they won't mess around. All right, I said. I don't smile. Why tempt her to friendship?